and you started to get phone calls.
Yes.
From Russians.
And of course it was simple and primitive word. They will cut my head, they will cut my heart, they will kill all my relatives. They knew all information, all dates, addresses, etc.
We gotta say, Nikopol is a city that it's on the Dnieper. It's on the reservoir of the Dnieper River.
Yeah.
One of the widest points of the river.
You've been there before rockets. You also came during the rockets, so you can compare.
And the owner said, "Hey, your friend Mike, you guys were here the other day. He said he's a great kickboxer. He's like, I'm a kickboxer too, and I really respect Mike." And so. Hello, this is Joe Lindsley sitting there at a new Greek cafe in Lviv with my friend Mike. Mike, introduce yourself, the famous.
Thank you so much. As usual, it's a big pleasure to meet you, my friend Joe. And
Michael Poperechnyuk from
Nikopol city, yes, which under rockets and attack more than 2 months, but we stand, we defend, and I'm a entrepreneur, I'm a politician, and also I'm a part of Turtle Defense Unit.
Yeah, and you've lately been going to different reported meetings in Europe and Switzerland and other places, sharing with pretty high-level European officials letting them feel the emotions of what it's like, for example, to be in a city that's been across from Russian occupiers for months. And so, what has been your mission in these past months of traveling around, or past month of traveling around Europe?
Yeah, it's good because.
Wait, we should say some background because you started off as a sportsman, which you still are in Diakoli, and you became kickboxing champion of Europe.
Yes. When I was a late teenager age.
Yeah, but it's a title that still sticks. For example, I went to get pizza yesterday at a little a great place here in Lviv, Poco Marco, and the owner said, "Hey, your friend Mike, you guys were here the other day. He said he's a great kickboxer. He's like, I'm a kickboxer too, and I really respect Mike." And so that gave you connected you to the world of Ukrainian sort of sportsmen. But then it's given you a platform. It's given you a platform in your hometown to fight corruption for the past 8 years. But now you have this platform to share the reality of Ukraine. And so,
of course, And then after my sport career, I established my business. It's in different areas, from advertising company to building company. After that, IT company, and of course, it's my commercial background. And at 2014, after Revolution of Dignity, we started and established our NGO, Solidarity and Evolution. And during these 8 years, we realized more than 25 social projects, from sport till anti-corruption, from supporting veterans till supporting children. So I'm really proud of these activities. It's more than 15 persons in Nikopol, just Nikopol, who are maximum involved in these processes.
And we gotta say, Nikopol is a city that it's on the Dnieper. It's on the reservoir of the Dnieper River.
Yeah.
One of the widest points of the river, across from the largest nuclear plant in Europe.
Absolutely.
So you have a major threat there. And the Russians have been across the river from your city all summer. But then since the spring, but since July, they've begun to shell your city day and night. I was just there to see the horror.
You've been there before rockets. You also came during the rockets, so you can compare. And of course, Russians occupied Energodar city, where is the biggest power plant situated at the March. There were more than 3 months of the silence, so they didn't start us. But at 12th of July, they started to attack Nikopol. Simple civil blocks, simple people. So they try to fight not against military units. They try to kill simple people.
Just the city,
Yes, they try to destroy civil blocks. So that's why we cannot say that they have some dignity, military dignity. They're shit army, shit people, and of course, while we stand, my main informational target to all foreigners, while we stand, we defend Europe and whole world has peace. Because if Ukraine fell down, it will be new and new invasions. Because Putin, he is a similar such a horseman of apocalypse. He will do more and more damages. He will he really wants to occupy new and new territories, and he absolutely copying and try to repeat Hitler's actions.
Well, and so here's very interesting, and I want to get back to Nikopol later, but what you just said, yesterday, Liz Truss, the new Prime Minister of the United Kingdom, she gave a pretty powerful speech in parts at the United Nations in New York, the General Assembly, and she said, Ukrainians are fighting for the freedom of the world, and like we are grateful to Ukrainians because if they fall, then other places will fall. And she said this is the most urgent fight right now. And then the next sentence was, and that's why we are increasing our military spending by 3% until the year through the year 2030. So by the year 2030, we will have increased our spending by 3. So the first sentence is great. Yes, you understand the problem. And then she says, "Oh, by 2030, we'll be more ready." And there still seems to be like if this is really the case, if Ukraine is really standing so much, and if Ukraine falls, if so much is at stake, why is the West not fully engaged in the fight? And that's the question I had to ask when I heard Liz Truss say that.
I want to go back to previous your question about my meetings in Europe. It was a big pleasure and honor that I was invited to European Forum Alba, which is one of the oldest in Europe. It was established 80 years ago. And it is a good platform for politicians, for businessmen, for scientists.
It's in Switzerland, right?
No, it's in Austria.
Oh, in Austria.
In Austrian Alps.
Alps.
Yeah. Even
you met with for example, I saw some of the photos, and you told me some stories. The Prince, the Crown Prince of Liechtenstein, the Prince of Liechtenstein, and
Chancellor of Switzerland, many
Foreign Minister of Ireland.
Many former ministers of foreign affairs and finance, and even with currents. And a lot of officials.
You presented a plate from the city of Nikopol.
Yes. It was one of the high-level meetings was with Mr. Borrell. He is a vice president of Euro Commission, and it was 2 days before coming to an Orgodar city, EIE.
Okay, so it's a very timely topic, and you show up in the presentation line and said, "Here's."
And I told to him, Mr. Borrell, it's very important to every time control all actions and all doings of Russians, because Russians, they don't keep their words. So if they say something, it will not be for sure. So that's why, please, we need more and more attention. We need more and more control, not only from EIA and from different
international
top levels. So that's why we need to increase sanctions. We need to get more and more weapons.
What was his attitude in response? As someone from Nikopol,
look, he was really impressive. He knew about Nikopol.
You just said I'm from Nikopol.
Yes,
he said
I know the city because he read the article about me from Financial Times.
Oh, when Ben, the reporter from the came to Nikopol.
So Ben Hall was in the I invited Ben Hall to Financial Times to Nikopol.
And after the shelling began on your city.
Yes. After that, it was Washington Post, Associated Press, Wall Street Journal. So of course, the high level of top politicians in Europe, they read these articles, and of course they know that now under the biggest pressure is Nikopol, because just only 4 kilometers across the river.
And because the type of shelling, there's missile attacks, but mainly it's artillery from across the river.
Yes.
Which means there's no warning whatsoever.
Yes, no warning. 12 seconds, and 30, 40 rockets will be in your home or near your home.
So what did I forget?
Mr. Borrell.
He's a deputy.
He's a vice president of Euro Commission.
The European Commission, right under Ursula von Leyen.
Yes.
So what do you think his feeling was? What was his sense?
He absolutely on our side, because he said on the public, on the main panel, that I encourage everyone to support Ukraine, from simple citizen of Europe to give some money donations till top officials to give weapons, military stuff, etc. So, and he said more and more times. And when we had discussion and privately, he said a lot of also good things that they will support us more and more times. after him, I had a discussion and very good conversation with the Minister of Foreign Affairs of Ireland.
My people.
Yes. Your people. Very cool guy. He's very tough and strong man. And he said also, we will help as we can because we understand all threats. Because what's the biggest threat? Because our neighbors, I mean Poland and Baltic countries, they understand how is it dangerous to have some kind of neighbor such as Russia.
Yeah.
But all the Europe, I mean Germany, France, Italy, they don't understand in generally what the impact might be if Russia will keep going with their war. But we really need to increase our informational, first of all, and then diplomatic fronts. It's very important.
Well, that's why you've been doing these travels.
Yes.
On the informational front, because your hometown, your home region is really the heartland of the Cossack people.
Yes.
You call them the freedom people.
Yeah.
And we, I want the world to understand Ukrainian democracy. And we see these scenes right now from Russia where finally people are protesting because of the conscription. But when people protest in Russia, they get the shit beat out of them and there's no freedom. Ukraine, even in wartime, people can dissent, and you know it because you've been a dissenting, sort of dissenting voice in Ukrainian politics for a long time. And even now, for example, recently there was this situation Westerners don't know about, but where volunteers were arrested or charged by the national police, and people can still criticize the government here.
Yeah.
Can you describe a little bit about Ukrainian democracy, even in wartime, and how there is free speech here?
Yeah, of course, you're absolutely right when you're saying that Ukrainian is freedom people.
Can you still in wartime, because throughout your career you've been criticizing usually people in power in Ukraine.
Yes.
Can you still do that in wartime? What's the situation?
I can do it, but I also understand. We can see Zakhar Pikh, the famous singer and the former head of political party.
Nearly ran for president in 2019. He's walking past us on the street right now.
Yeah, so it's for people who are not listening to us. It's amazing Lviv.
You can see,
you can see ministers, famous celebrities.
We're looking out the window of this very nice Greek cafe, and I interviewed Slava a couple times. So he's a great guy.
Yeah.
Fantastic music, and he, when he was in 2019, when people were thinking who should be the next president, Ukrainians were looking for an artist. That's why they ended up picking an actor, but they also thought about a musician.
Yeah, and coming back to the previous question, of course I can criticize different officials and authorities, but now we try to be united, everyone, because we have enemy outside of our borders. So after victory, we have to have a deal or to solve problems with our corruption guys. But now we really need to defend our country, our borders.
But even in this, and if you don't want to talk about it, we don't have to talk about it, but even like this controversy arose a few weeks ago.
Of course, everyone can do
the police went after some popular volunteers.
Yes.
And then instead of having massive protests in the streets, the people of Lviv organized forums where people have conversations.
Yes.
And I really thought, like, this is an amazing, beautiful type of democracy where the people say, hey, we don't like this, and instead of yelling on the streets, we're going to ask the people we disagree with to join us in conversation.
Yes. You're absolutely right, and just imagine that after first revolution, I mean in 2004, we said Orange Revolution, no one president of Ukraine haven't been elected second time. Yushchenko, Yanukovych, Poroshenko, and we don't know what we're a bit now. So that's why if somebody, some candidate, and after that president didn't do what people expected, they will go to retire.
Yeah, and this is the big difference between Ukraine and Russia.
And this is a real democracy. Because you can choose which representative you want to see.
And you can also, if you don't like something, you can voice your complaints. Can you, and if this you don't want to mention, we don't have to, but you told me a few days ago about early in the war, when you got phone call, you were in Nikopol, which is not far from, the Russians had already swept into, this is, I guess, before the war, maybe the couple days before the war, or when the war started, the Russians had moved into Kherson, southern region of Ukraine, not far from Nikopol, and you started to get phone calls from Russians.
The first phone calls were from Caucasian guys, because
like Chechen guys.
I don't know, Chechen, maybe Dagestan. It's
these are small republics of Russia.
Yes. Because I heard the special accent of them, and of course it was simple and primitive words. They will cut my head, they will cut my heart, they will kill all my relatives. They knew all information, all dates, addresses, etc. When they understood that it's impossible to push or some kind of
they were hoping that they could turn you to their side, make you afraid, so that your city could easily fall.
So started calling different, FSB guys.
They went to a higher level.
Yes, higher level. They started to say, please don't do anything, be neutral. And of course, it was difficult because I couldn't record these voices because I didn't know how to do in the iPhone.
And you didn't expect this.
No, they called me maybe once, maybe 2 times per week.
Yeah.
So totally it was maybe 5 or 6 calls. And it was specific and interesting experience because they tried to push me mentally. They tried, to stop all our activities, because just imagine I had different fronts, military fronts as a part of the total defense unit, because I tried to find and I arranged more than 500 body armors, more than 20 night and heat visions, a lot of helmets, uniforms. So it was
very quickly. The first
very quickly. It's a few weeks, and it was very difficult because it's a lot of money, and I spent my own money. I tried to attract my partners from business funds also, and it was really difficult. But also I had and still have a humanitarian front because of our NGO Solidarity and Evolution. So we try to feed, to give hygiene products and medicine.
You worked in the World Central Kitchen and you get food to people.
Yes.
But they were trying to intimidate you into to stop.
Yeah.
And how did this end?
So when they understood that it's impossible to influence me, they started just only try to push me to be neutral.
Yeah, just because they knew they couldn't switch you to their side.
Of course, but for me, some kind of these words from the enemy, some kind of.
How did that feel, speaking to the enemy in that way?
It was difficult because I always wanted to stop the phone calls, saying "fuck off" or Putin, yes, and just only finish the conversation. But I also understood that I want also to get more and more information. I was trying to keep this conversation more. To hear maybe something interesting or useful for us, because you should understand what enemy is, what he is thinking about, and actually what he wants to do. It's also very important. So it was.
And so how did this end? Did these calls stop?
Yeah, they understood it.
It's not going to work. You're dealing with too much of a force. All right, last thing.
I remember last my conversation, and I said directly and clearly. So we will kill, destroy, and delete all Russians on our land.
Kill, destroy, and delete. Fantastic.
Yes.
And that was the end of their.
And I say it for them, for their understanding that it's not about. I'm talking about not such a military unit or military person. I told them all Ukrainian society hate Russians. So it's impossible, even if they occupy some territory, to keep it or to save their positions, because now we also see the occupation process. It's a not so fast process, but we also understand that we want to free our territory from this,
whether through resistance and to the military. And when I was in Nikopol after the shelling began, so a few weeks ago, there was one scene as our friend Serhiy is driving us around the city, and the shelling had just stopped, maybe an hour or two
Yeah.
before. It's 7 o'clock in the morning, and on the main boulevard, there's buildings, windows busted.
Yeah.
There's people stepping into a coffee shop that
Yeah.
seems to be still working,
Yeah.
even though
Yeah.
it's been bombed. And I see all these scenes I see old people, I see young people, and in particular one old woman. They're sweeping the glass on the sidewalk, and they know that in an hour or 20 minutes
Yeah.
or 5 hours that this is going to happen again, and still they're there and they're not screaming and panicking, calmly. And it makes me very proud of the people in Nikopol, but also it was one of the saddest things I saw, because you see like simple people living their lives and these expensive missiles and rockets coming to destroy them, and but to see the resilience, and I was starting to cry watching this scene in Nikopol. That was one of the most powerful moments I've had here. And what the last scene in like 30 seconds maybe, what is the most important thing you think that the West needs to realize right now, especially Americans, I would say, about Ukraine, that they don't maybe realize?
What is bravery is? This is Ukraine, this is Ukrainians, and while we stand and defend, Europe and the whole world will have security. And if they want peace and safety lives, peaceful life in their cities, they need to support us in financial, in military and humanitarian field. So it's not big payment for their peace. We pay more because we pay our lives. We pay our health. So that's why important to support us as much as possible.
The gates of the West, the gates of freedom and liberty.
Yes, and I think and I hope that Europe and United States and all the world understand that we are subject in the world, not object.
Subject, yeah. I like this idea. Not an object to be used, but a subject. And in that sense, a leader, a force. Fantastic.
Yeah.
Wow, dude, Mike, thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
This is Yaakov.
Thank you for your support. Thank you for your great work, because your front, informational front, very important, and you're also some kind of general or admiral of informational troops.
Thank you,
so
man.
please keep going. Always happy to see and meet you, and glory to Ukraine.
Glory to the heroes. Slava Ukrainin.
Slava
And
Ukraini.
this has been Joe Lindsley talking to you from Lviv, and my friend.
Michael Poperechnyuk.
And your NGO is.
Solidarity and Evolution.
And we'll share all the links, and you can find more UkrainianFreedomNews.com. Thanks for listening to Speak Freely on Near Daily War Journal from a cafe, looking out the window as the city of Lviv passes us by.